thanks very much, Greg, for inviting us into your bed while you're in Melbourne.
No problem.
I didn't really expect to be in bed with you, but, as long as we don't tell your girlfriend, I'm sure that's fine. Okay, we'll cut that bit out.
She'd be pumped.
Oh, well, she sounds like she's a very accommodating woman.
Yeah, we actually, one of the more well-known girl talk YouTubes is someone filmed me playing AudioMulch on our couch, and she was sleeping, and it looks totally staged because it looks like I planted this woman there, like this passed out thing, and all the YouTube comments kind of reference oh, how did he get that slut in there, passed out, drunk or whatever. And it was like, it was just my girlfriend sleeping on like a Wednesday night at like 8 p.m. And that's kind of, always been like the big kind of YouTube hit thing. So this is almost referential to, that whole thing. But I definitely think it's not weird anymore to see someone play with a keyboard or a sampler or a laptop or whatever and kind of make a show out of it. I like to get in the crowd as much as possible, and I like to kind of do the classic interactions with the crowd. But yeah, technically the way I set up my AudioMulch template to perform live, it's kind of like more beneficial for me to be clicking the mouse every 3 seconds as opposed to like, dancing on someone's head or something. I think it's also just a comfort level thing too for me at this point. I've performed so many shows on AudioMulch, and it's intense sometimes when you get in front of a crowd and it's like 1,000 people there, and if the computer skips or the program like glitches up, everyone's like, it loses that whole image of them being like a professional at what they're doing, and all of a sudden it like kills the entire vibe of what's going on. So I, in the past few years, have never had an issue, knock on wood, with AudioMulch, and so it's just kind of like, live, it's just become comfortable, and I've never actually, had something go wrong. I think once you put in the number of shows, it's like, oh, we did 200 shows straight and, no issues. It's like, this thing works. Naturally, I think it's also cool because people are always like, oh, you run Ableton. And I'm like, no, I don't. It's also like this mysterious thing, I think, to some people who maybe haven't heard of it. But yeah, it's been stable. It's what I'm comfortable with. And I think it's a good product.
What's your singing voice like? I mean, you mentioned processing instruments live. Like, would you extend your music into like...
If I could sing, I would be singing every show. I just can't sing. Occasionally I do a Nirvana cover of the song Scentless Apprentice, and it's a bit more of like a screamy sort of one where you don't necessarily have to carry a specific tune. Maybe if I got like to expert level AudioMulch, I could actually process my voice to not make it sound ridiculous.
Do you have any tips for AudioMulch users, particularly those who perform live with it?
I think I think the way I use it's very specific, and like I said, I want to get through samples at a certain rate. So that's kind of the way I use it. But I think using some of the applications and importing VSTs and things into there, it can be a really fun area, and it's funny just because a lot of my friends who fool around with it use it a lot more in depth than I do, and it's crazy to like look at their patches and see what's going on. But yeah, I just think it's kind of like an endless world, and I think it's especially fun if you want to fool around doing experimental music to run like actual audio through the computer, playing an instrument or something like that, which if I have free time, just processing sounds and kind of making that sound palette, I think is a great thing that I don't use it for as much as I used to, but I think that's, definitely an amazing function. I think it's pretty straight up, once you start actually fooling around with it, I think it's pretty intuitive. Like I said, I got into it without really knowing any other piece of software. I think with any software, it's just a matter of really getting into the groove with it and kind of being comfortable and familiar.